Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video on the MediaByte channel. Today we are going to be talking about a movie that you've probably seen it, if not seen it referenced or heard it referenced before, probably in the last year, as a matter of fact. But before we get into that, stick around after the video for some stuff about podcasts and Patreon that I am trying to do. I do podcasts a while, and then Patreon I'm trying to do at least once a month commentary. But with all that said and done, let's just get into 1984's Red Dawn. If you have absolutely no clue what this movie's about, it's gonna sound like I'm making up a lot of this. If you have no context for this movie, it seems like I made up a movie. The movie plot was, the fact that this movie was ever made is kind of crazy, to be honest with you. Basically, the movie starts with a big explanation of the state of the world, where the UN does not exist anymore, countries have invaded other countries, and the United States of America has no friends in the rest of the world. Basically, imagine a world where the United States has no friends in the rest of the countries. The United Nations does not exist, so no one is holding any country accountable for anything. So basically, anyone can do anything to the US at any point without much consequence, except from directly the US fighting back. So that's kind of where this story begins, as some people in the classroom, mostly their children, they're teenagers, and the teacher is teaching about democracy, I believe, something about democracy, something in that vein. In the back of the room, through the glass windows, you can see people kind of parachuting down from the sky. To be fair, it is kind of hard to see exactly what's going on at first if you're confused by that, but you don't really understand what's going on purpose. The teacher goes outside to ask, like, what is going on here? Like, what's happening here? He goes up to them, and then chaos begins, as the parachute people literally begin just shooting everyone and blowing things up, and everything just blows up. I mean, they just start shooting everyone, and people are fleeing and escaping and running through the streets and trying to escape the school, basically. So, as you find out as the movie progresses on, that the Russians have invaded mainland USA, and they're attempting to take the country by storm. There's a group of students who survived the initial chaos and are attempting, I guess I should say, to stop the Russian invasion of America. There is a group of students who survived the initial chaos and are attempting to fight back against the Russians, and that is kind of the core group of the people that you follow throughout this entire movie. I won't spoil the very ending of the film, because it's kind of the emotional crux of the entire thing ends on that note, but it really does hit. There is something very, very emotional about the way everything about the movie goes on. Trust me when I say that there's parts of this movie that are very cheesy, but the very ending emotional relationship that you have and the way you feel about certain events really hit you deep and really truly make you feel for the characters in your film, in this film. There are two things that I want to mention in this video that I would be stupid if I didn't mention them to you, because they're kind of major parts of what you would know about this film if you've never seen it before. So they call themselves, the whole group of kids call themselves Wolverines after their school's mascot, the Wolverines, which again really makes it feel so like, it really sets them up as being teenagers, because they just named it after their school mascot, because they have the really tight-knit like high school community, so they named themselves after the school's mascot. The other side of this that I think you really have to think about when you're watching a film like Red Dawn is when the movie was released in 1984, the cultural peak basically of the Cold War. So this movie is, let's be honest, part American propaganda, because of course it would be. It's called Red Dawn. It's about Russians invading American soil, and it also says in the movie part as what America's absolute worst fear was at the time. That was the scariest possible thing that could happen in 1984, was the Russians invading mainland America. That's why this is such a perfect way to kind of time capsule back to the 80s, because let's be honest here, the biggest fear for most Americans was nuclear war. We also now currently have that same struggle. We aren't very much different, and not much has changed in the last 40 years since this movie has come out. I think watching this movie kind of makes you understand the world always will move on. Things are okay. Things will move on. Because our worst fears then are the same worst fears we have now. It's been 40 years. Sometimes you wish things would have changed, but, you know, they survived, we'll survive, and it's just really interesting to look back at this movie through the lens of what was going on culturally at the time, and better people than I, better historians than I can, I'm sure, have talked about why this movie is such a cultural stone for kids who grew up in that age, and what it meant for them going through the Cold War and all of that fun stuff. So that is it. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate every one of you who clicks on watches these videos, because I love making videos for you guys. I do a bunch of podcasts. Slasha Podcast is for all things horror movies. Exploring Cinemas for all things that are not horror movies. Dire Vinity Filmmaker is for all things filmmaker-ish. So all my short films, all that fun jazz. Do all that fun stuff. So that is there. The Patreon account is all things Patreon. So the Patreon account is for commentaries. I do commentaries. Probably try and do them once a month. I have not decided what the next film will be. And we'll see if I have a guest or not doing the commentaries with me. We'll have to see about that. And it'll be fun. I hope that you all have enjoyed this video. And you can follow everything social media at MediaByte Company, at MediaByte Co. on TikTok. And yeah, so thank you all, and I will see you in the next one.